I crossed an ocean at 17, but Montana is where I learned what kind of man I would become. Underground, I operated a coal cutter that looked as though it had chewed its way out of hell. Above ground, I worked horses beneath an open sky, played my fiddle at the dances, and built a life among friends. Come along. I'll show you the world I knew.
Hi, George. I saw your photographs and they made me curious. Would you tell us a little about yourself?
I'd be glad to. I was born in 1894 in a small village in Europe. At 17, I left everything I knew and sailed for America. I traveled aboard the Prince Adalbert and arrived in Philadelphia on October 24, 1911. I was alone, with an entire new country ahead of me.
You were only 17 when you reached America. Philadelphia was a long way from Montana. How did you find your way west?
People I knew back in Europe helped me find my way west. Eventually, I reached Montana and found work on a large horse ranch there. The ranch covered nearly 1,500 acres. We raised horses there, including some sold to the United States Army. Montana was hard country, but I quickly came to love its open spaces.
After arriving in America in 1911, I eventually made my way west to Klein, Montana, a small mining community where I lived in a small house on a ranch.
Ranch work meant long days in the saddle. Leather chaps protected my legs from brush, while a hat and sidearm were part of my gear. A rope, leather gloves, and a sturdy knife were everyday tools. We trained horses, mended fences, cut hay, and loaded them at the railroad spur. By 1914, I needed steadier wages, so I worked underground at the Star Mine while continuing to help whenever I was needed on the ranch.
This was the Republic Coal Company's number 2 mine, near Klein. I went to work here in 1914, cutting coal and laying track. For many years, this mine supplied coal to the Milwaukee Road. It helped support Klein and communities throughout the Musselshell Valley. At its peak, Klein had about 1,500 residents. Most miners lived here, and the mine supported local homes, businesses, and the United Mine Workers.
George, what was it really like working underground? What kind of work did you do down there?
The passages were dark, loud, and thick with coal dust. We worked by lamplight, always watching for loose rock or shifting timber. Crews cut into the seam, brought the coal down, loaded it into mine cars, and moved those cars along underground track toward the surface. My job was operating the coal cutter. It prepared the seam before the coal came down. Let me show you what that machine looked like. Before we cut the coal, the crew secured the machine, then checked its chains and controls. That's me standing behind the machine at the Star Mine. When I first saw that beast, I thought it had chewed its way out of hell. I worked as a cutter. We positioned the machine against the coal face, where it carved a deep horizontal slot to weaken the seam. It was dangerous work, heavy chains, moving machinery, falling rock, and coal dust everywhere. At other times, I laid the underground track that carried the coal away.
That machine looked powerful and dangerous. How did you work around something like that? Was cutting coal your only job underground?
Carefully. We watched the chains, the cutter, and the roof above us. We had lamps, but little protection from the noise and coal dust. We knew the dust made men cough, but not what years of breathing it could do. At other times,
I laid track for the mine cars.
George, did you operate that cutting machine alone, or did other men work beside you?
I was the machine runner, but I never worked that cutter alone. My helper stayed beside me. I controlled the motor and made the undercut. My helper managed the power cable, cleared the cuttings, and watched the machine beside me.
Once you finished the undercut, did your crew stay there and bring the coal down?
No. When the undercut was finished, we withdrew the cutter and moved on. The shot fires followed behind us.
Keep low and stay behind this pillar. The charges will run quickly along the face.
Damn! Mac language.
She's got you there.
Once the dust cleared and the roof was checked, how did they get all that coal into the mine cars?
Once the room was safe, 2 loaders broke up pieces and shoveled the coal onto a shaker conveyor that carried it toward the mine cars.
George, you loosen it, we do the heavy work. Same as always. Don't worry, George, we'll clean up your mess.
Once the coal came down, the crew used equipment like this to move it out of the working place and toward the mine cars. The crew worked in tight teams, coordinating every move to keep the coal flowing out of the face and toward the main haulage ways.
Hey, fellows, don't forget the dance tonight. I noticed a pretty girl there last time, and I'm hoping to see her again. Wouldn't miss it, George. We'll be there, and we'll see if that pretty girl remembers you.
Once the coal left the shaker and filled the mine cars, how did they move those heavy cars through the mine?
Horse drivers gathered loaded cars from the working rooms. On the main haulage ways, electric motors pulled longer strings toward the surface. Trackmen kept the rails repaired and extended them as the workings advanced. I laid that track too, whenever the mine needed me.
From the working rooms, horse drivers gathered the loaded cars and brought them to the main haulage ways. Trackmen kept those rails aligned and repaired, extending them farther into the mine as the workings advanced. Electric motors pulled longer trips to the shaft station. There, car handlers rolled each load into the cage and signaled the hoist man. The cage carried the coal to the surface, where another crew emptied the cars into the tipple and prepared the coal for the Milwaukee Road. Every crew depended on the men who worked before them. At the surface, another crew rolled each loaded car from the cage to the tipple. They secured it in the dumping cradle, pulled the release lever, and emptied the coal into the hopper. The tipple then prepared it for the waiting Milwaukee Road cars.
It took more people than I realized. Every crew depended upon the men before them and the men who followed.
That is right. Underground, every man had his job, but we also watched the roof, the machinery, and one another.
After a day like that, George, what did you do when your shift was over?
Whenever I was needed, I still helped at the ranch. After hours underground, the horses and open sky felt like another world.
You worked underground and still found time to help with the horses?
I did. If you two are willing, come riding with me. I'll show you how we gathered horses on the Montana range. Last one back to the ranch. Buys the drinks. There's a community dance in Klein tonight. Would you two ladies care to come along?
We'd be delighted. What should we expect at a community dance in Klein?
Music, food, and dancing. Sometimes they even talk me into playing my fiddle.
Then you're definitely playing tonight.
Hey, George, bring that fiddle up here and give us a tune. All right. At least let us get through the door first.
I didn't know George could play like that. There's more to him than coal mines and horses. George, Diane and I have to leave. Thank you for letting us spend this day with you.
Already? The night is still young.
We wish we could stay. We'll remember the mine, the ranch, and the friend who showed them to us.
Then I'm glad you came. Wherever the road takes you, you'll always have friends here in Klein.
Goodbye, George.
We came to learn how coal was mined. Instead, we met the man behind the photographs. A miner, a rancher, a musician, and a young man building a new life far from home. George's story is only beginning. Subscribe and join us for the next chapter of his American journey.
Hi, I'm George. This is only part of my life and my family's story. If you'd like to hear more, please comment, subscribe, like this video, and don't forget to ring the bell.